So I have some advice for you, which is basically going to erase what college has taught you. College asks you to think in careers. You've got into a field, you got into an industry, suppose civil engineering, and you've got to think of your entire career in that term. You're a civil engineer today, and maybe 5 years later, you're a slightly better civil engineer. That's your career. You're limited to that division or department. The problem is we are in 2021, and most people, successful people now, think in terms of projects rather than a career as a whole. So in this video, I'm going to tell you why and what does it mean to think in projects rather than a career and how you can do it. So let's assume there's a woman. Let's call her Sheila. And now Sheila becomes a software developer. She does computer science at college and she's ended up a software developer. Today, she's going to be a software developer. 5 years later, she's still going to be a software developer, maybe with, 30% or 50% increment in her salary. 20 years later, she's still going to be the same software developer. Now, because she's thought of her life as a career and not in terms of project, her growth rate is very linear. There are no jumps or opportunities in her career because it's just she's seen herself as a software developer. Other people also see her as a software developer. There's no wiggle room around what she's done. Over her lifetime, maybe her skills will improve 3x, maybe her network will improve 3x. And that's about it, right? She's going to die a software developer. However, take the example of somebody like me. I started my career freelancing and I worked with many projects. In fact, that's what taught me the project mindset rather than a job mindset. So project mindset is you take up a project, you're fully immersed in the project has a scope, you learn certain things, you overcome certain obstacles in the project, and then it's done. You've packaged it, you've completed it, you've handed it over to the client, and you're scot-free. The experience from the project is now in your pocket. Whereas in a career, you can't do that. You can't keep taking breaks. It's a continuous thing, right? So now you have this project is in your pocket. Now you use the success or the learnings of this project, even if it's a failure, you can use the learnings of the project to move on to the next project. So in terms of my career, I took the first project, used the success of that project and the story of that project for the next one, and the next one, and so on and so forth. And then once I was done with the freelance project, I ran a company. I raised capital for that company, hired a team, got to some scale, sold the company. And then it was done. Even a company I looked at as a project, finished it, put it away, right? And then I did Pajama Profit, which is the project. It took us a few weeks to write the book, package it, etc., etc. It came out within 6 months. That's a project. Now it's done. And it's now forever in my name. Now there are exceptions to this project mindset. Now, even when you try to build something really big, take the example of Sam Altman, who's building OpenAI, who's the president of Y Combinator for a while. Even he thinks of large companies, building a large company as a project. And he says that every project I do has to make the rest of my career look like a footnote. So take bigger and bigger, more exponential projects, right? So if one project was a scale of say 5, the next project should be at a scale of 30. The project after that should be at a scale of 100. This is hard to do when you're a software developer. You usually put in a role and basically you get 10% increment on that role at the end of every year. You can't leap, right? It's hard to leap and it's hard for you to find those leaps as well. And I think one of the biggest examples of these project-based careers has been Elon Musk. He did the game when he was young, Blastar. This was a project. Put it behind him. Then he did X.com, which he sold to PayPal. That was a project. He put it behind him. Then he did SpaceX. That was a project. Still working on it. He did Tesla, which is a separate project. Still working on it. Then he did Boring.com, separate project. Then he did Flamethrowers, which he sold, which is a separate project. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. He's doing 3 projects at once right now, which is also possible. Whereas this is so difficult for a traditional person in a traditional job with a traditional mindset to do. Now, I personally believe that this is less a problem of the person or the person trying to get a job or trying to work in projects. It's more of a problem of the Indian mentality. Because we pay our employees a salary, right? We pay our employees say 30,000 a month or 40,000 a month. We expect to own them. Almost all recruiters and employers have this mindset. I paid this money and I own this person. Whereas in America, the mindset is different. I'm renting you by the hour. I'm paying you an hourly rate. So the minute you get into a mindset of, oh, I'm renting this person, it feels like a project because now you can rent away 4 hours of your time here, 5 hours of your time here and say goodbye when you want to. Whereas in India, if you keep saying goodbye to companies, you'll eventually get a black mark. Right? People will not want to hire you seeing your resume, seeing that you've taken so many breaks and switched so many companies, right? Whereas if you positioned yourself as somebody that does projects, as a consultant, and you went to a company and said, I'll help you solve these milestones till here, and then I'm going to move on. That becomes even better. And please don't think of projects as something that you only do for 2 months or 3 months. Some might be, but usually your projects are going to last years. If you want to take a company from zero to IPO, that's a 10-year long project. That's a decade-long project. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Projects help you improve. You can take multiple projects at a time And it's more an hourly thing to do rather than, I'm committing my entire time to this one company and I'm done. For me, what taught me the basics of this project-based mindset is the freelance career that I had. So my recommendation to you, if you want to start thinking like this, take up 1 or 2 freelance projects and see what it's like. Try to wrap one up and put it behind you and move on to the next one. And you'll find that when you wrap one up, you know exactly what you want, right? You'll know what kind of challenges you want in your next project, or you'll know at least the scope or the type of challenges you want to tackle in your next project, and so on and so forth. Construction engineers always think like this, and their life is leaps. Their first project pays them like this, second one pays them this, third one pays them this. Don't play a linear game, right? Play a step-based game. And that you can only do if you work in projects and not work in one set career with a linear path.